Hi, my name is Zoe Livesey, and this is my trauma-informed practice protocol presentation. The strategy I've chosen for today is behavior-specific praise. So, what do we mean by behavior-specific praise? We just mean that the teacher is acknowledging a specific, appropriate, and/or desired behavior with a positive statement. So, in the example here, we kind of have a what to do versus what not to do. So, what behavior-specific praise is not is just simply saying good job. Meanwhile, if we wanted to be specific, in Superman's case, we would say, I noticed you saved a woman from a burning building. So, why would we use specific behavior specific praise? Children with trauma may not be accustomed to praise. This just means that they're very uncomfortable with the idea of praise and it may trigger a negative response or emotion. So, in light of this, behavior specific praise may actually build up a student's self esteem and their positivity towards self. Furthermore, it helps reinforces new and appropriate skills, calling on a very specific skill, saying, good job, you cleaned up, thank you. Good job, you shared, thank you. Furthermore, it provides predictability. Children who have gone through traumatic experiences find a lot of comfort in routine, and this control and predictability helps comfort them. They know that they are going to be praised for a certain skill. And all of this together helps promote their brain development. So, how would we begin to implement behavior specific praise? So, first, we want to identify the student or the group of students who are portraying the desired or appropriate behavior. So, whether it is one student named Juan or if it's table four doing good job being quiet, that's who we want to focus on. Furthermore, after that, we would go to identify the desired or appropriate behavior. So, what is Juan or table four doing that we want to put a focus on and praise? So, in this case, we'll say we've got Lisa and Maria sharing a book. And finally, we just want to vocalize a positive statement after identifying the two key factors. So include the name of the student or the group, and also include the desired or appropriate behavior they're displaying. So I do have an example of this. So we've got a comic that where the teacher initially says good boy, and then the student is wondering what they're doing right. And once again, backtracking to why would we use the strategy, not only will the student wonder what they're doing right, but they may be uncomfortable with phrases such as good boy or good girl. She goes on to correct herself. She says, I am pleased you are helping to put away the toys. I would take it a step further and maybe call the student by name. So I have a couple of tips on how to properly implement behavior specific praise. So you want your praise to be clear, solid, and concrete. You don't want to have students wondering what they're doing right, like in the example previously given. And then you want to deliver this praise with a very neutral tone. You don't want to be too happy or too preppy about it. Just give it as a plain compliment. Um, Avoid praise regarding personality traits. As I've been saying, we don't want to say good boy, good girl. Not only will it not only will it just confuse them in general, or it's a trigger for them, but also some students might have a hard time grasping the morality of it. Saying sometimes they traumatize students, sometimes they come into the classroom already believing that they are not a good boy or a good girl. So when you say things like this, they think you're lying and it puts them in a really bad headspace. So finally, we just want to comment on actions as we've covered. Just say what they are doing that is the desired behavior you want. So I have a couple of discussion questions right here. How do trauma-informed practices cater to traumatized students? Why is it important to implement trauma-informed practices in the classroom? What is the intent of trauma-informed practices? And how do trauma-informed practices benefit kids in a special education? So I want to go through these questions real quick and just answer off the top of my head. So I feel like the first question may kind of answer itself. Trauma informed practices are for traumatized students. We learn these because a lot of teachers go into the field untrained on how to take care of traumatized students because at the end of the day, teachers are also caretakers. So with trauma informed practices, it really keeps in mind what these kids have gone through and how that affects their way of thinking, their behavior, how they're going to react with, specific, with behavior specific praise. We keep in mind that praise can be a very, very hard thing for a traumatized kid to grasp with. Um, Moving on to the next question, why is it important to implement trauma-informed practices in the classroom? Once again, regardless if you know or not, you are going to have a kid who has gone through traumatic experiences in the classroom. And I think that this is especially true with kids in a special education classroom. I think they are more prone to traumatic events. And even if maybe they have really good caretakers and they haven't been through a traumatic event, they may have similar mannerisms. Like with a kid who is autistic, it might be very beneficial to know what they are doing. Why are they a good boy or a good girl? Um, Moving on, what is the intent of trauma informed practices? So the intent of trauma informed practices is to cater to the needs of traumatized students, is to help them out, and kind of maneuver in class as best as they can. And finally, how do trauma informed practices benefit kids in a special education classroom? As I said previously, I feel like kids who have mental disabilities can are a little bit more prone to experience traumatic events. And even if they have not gone through traumatic events, I believe that they can have very similar mannerisms. So, in conclusion, behavior specific praise is a strategy that uses explicit positive statements to praise and encourage students. And behavior specific praise is beneficial for students with traumatic experiences, many of which who are often included in the special education classroom. And then here are all the citations I